Coach Martin, begin with just some opening thoughts, and then we'll open it up to questions for there, please.
Thank you guys for coming out. Obviously, it's been like a quick, fast 3 weeks. Very exciting. A lot of moving parts, staff, recruiting, current players, up and down the state. So it's been a lot of fun, exciting. It's really good. My family's not here to occupy my time, so that part has been good. So I can, now I just try to find a way to get a little sleep in that, but it's been good thus far.
How'd you kind of prioritize over the last month? I mean, how much did you feel like, hey, day one, I know the guys I want to target for my staff, and where'd you go over the last 3 weeks?
Well, when I took the job, I had an idea of the guys I was looking for as far as our staff was concerned. I think that is very important. And, you have ideas when you're recruiting as a coach, when you're coming back this way. But I think the most important thing for me was the right staff, guys, because in order to do our job effectively, I think that is very important because, of course, you want great student athletes, but you have to have the right guys to identify those guys, not just me, but our staff. And we count on everybody's opinions and values when we make those decisions. So that was first and foremost. So to get that on board, then we can kind of move forward as far as, meeting with our current players about expectations. We have our second workout on the floor today, a second weightlifting session today. And just build those relationships, because that is the most important thing, I think, when you get a staff with our current players, then obviously recruiting. It is what it is.
Michael Porter Sr. was the first assistant coach that was announced. When did your conversation start with him about joining the staff at Mizzou?
They started with him after, unfortunately, Coach Romo was terminated in Washington. And then it just kind of started from that. And the unique thing about this, and I respect him, and it's great to have him on board now that you get to know me more. It wasn't even about, the prospect, and obviously you can't say names and all that. It was just about the opportunity to be a part of it. I'd love to be a part of your staff. And just not really talking with each other, but building a relationship through planning as Washington, but not necessarily talking about it. But then when it came to pass, my relationship with Coach Romar helped in that situation.
You talked a lot in the opening presser about coming back home and all the rest. What's been the reaction you walking into the door of some of these high schools, returning back now as head coach for Missouri?
It's been great. I mean, it really has. And I said it before, the Mizzou brand, it's a very powerful brand, and we can't get, the thing I say to our players, we can't get caught into what has happened on the floor. This is a great brand. I talked to Derek Cheever's last night. I talked to a lot of guys, man. I had Derek Cheever's son when I was at Tennessee, so because those guys helped build this program, and you don't have this level of facilities and arena when you haven't had success. So it's been great, recruiting-wise, AAU coaches, summer coaches, high school coaches, families. And again, we don't focus so much on what has happened. We focus on moving forward. This is a great brand. It's our job to sell that, not to make excuses, but to sell that brand and push forward.
Coach, I'm sure you saw some of the banners around campus this weekend. Just where do you think the excitement level's at with Mizzou Nation?
I think it's high. But I think this program has always had that. I mean, obviously a few bumps in the road, and we got to get past that. But I think this program has always had a tremendous level of energy. The last time I played here, when I was an assistant coach at Purdue, we played here. And obviously when I was at Tennessee, we played here. And you saw the passion of the fans. And anytime you have great fan support, not just in games, but around the community, the campus, and talking to our guys that we're recruiting, the way they talked about the fans on campus, that is tremendous. And we don't take that for granted. I've never taken it for granted as a coach, the impact of our fans and to help them understand. They help make us a great program. With that level of energy, easy is not the word, but it makes my job a little bit better.
What's your plan on managing the hype and the excitement around this program with mainly a core group of guys who haven't been in maybe big spots on a collegiate level?
Good question. I just think, my job as a coach is to do my job. And that means developing young men on and off the basketball court, putting ourselves in position to win basketball games, making sure we're successful in the classroom, in the community, and doing all those things. And for me, I can't get caught up in that. My job is to do that's my job, and to make sure they understand the importance of doing the right things on a consistent basis and holding each other accountable as teammates. And because the fanfare and all that stuff that comes with it, the expectations that goes with the territory, and I think that's what makes great programs great. They go through that and learn from that, and able to weather the storms, whether they're negative or positive, and continue to push forward. I think that is the biggest key. I can control the guys when I see them, and we talk about different things, being positive, playing and being in the community with a level of humility, and just to try to do the right things. And again, sometimes it's hard when you're a young guy, you see a lot and it feels good, but we can't lose sight of the task at hand.
Cuonzo, what's your kind of early impression of the returning players, the guys that got
Good players. I mean, good players worked hard. I mean, it's our second workout today. I thought they worked extremely hard. We didn't do any competing. It was just more skill work, but I was impressed. They worked hard. No excuses. Again, credit to Coach Kim and his staff, because there wasn't complaining, no excuses. They just did their job, and that's all you ask at this point, to continue to work toward what we're trying to do as a program.
Do you
anticipate any? There were already 2 transfers announced. Do you anticipate the rest of the guys all being back next year, or is there still possible?
I think so, but you never know until school starts. But I think so.
Cuonzo, how do you convince your guys to play so hard, such a defensive mindset? We're watching you over the years, your teams, even yourself on the sideline, you're into it, man.
Well,
where's that come from?
Just a desire to be successful. And maybe it started when I was a younger guy, trying to play with older guys and have an opportunity to play. And the thing was, don't shoot a lot of balls. You just rebound and play defense if you want to play with us. So I think you develop it there. And then, under Gene Katie, Benny Lewis, guys that had that defensive mindset, and it just became a way of life. And I think defense is just pride. Everybody has a different style, zone, man, pressing. But I just think it's a matter of pride from an individual standpoint first, and then you build it. And we just get consumed with it. And that was one of the reasons why. Excuse me, sorry about that, guys. My phone see me. But that was one of the reasons why with Cornell, man, and Chris Hollander, guys with an offensive mindset, because even in practice we can be doing an offensive drill and I get so consumed with the defensive side because I just see it in so many different forms. Those guys' job is specifically just to focus on those things, so I don't, because when I get consumed with the defensive side, that kind of slips. So just really have those guys lock in on it. But I just think it's Coach Katie was a man-to-man guy, and there was principles all the time. And he always talked about, offense you kind of flow with it, but defensively there was precision behind where you had to be because other guys are counting on you to be there. And you're going over your assignments and playing that way. So I think it has a lot to do with Coach Katie.
Did you know Chris Hollander before?
Yes.
Where did that relationship start?
Well, I've been on Hollander and Cornell for a long time. Cornell, we probably connected early 2000s, maybe in 2000. Hollander's somewhere around the same time span. I coached against him when I was at Missouri State. He was at Evansville, but I knew him before that, so we've known each other for a long time through mutual friends. And in this world, our profession, especially when you're coaching as Midwest guys with certain teams, whether it's what they call them high major, mid-major levels, everybody sees each other. You have the same terms, you're recruiting the same teams. So I've known those guys for years, and well-respected guys, work extremely hard, good at what they do. And outside of all of that, they have a passion to see young men develop and get better. And I think when you have that, it's not so much as what they can bring to the table, but more about what can they give to these young men.
Did you talk to Kareem Richardson at all about Chris before you hired him?
Well, I talked to maybe 7 people. Again, I knew Hollander, but it's one thing to know somebody, but it's different when you haven't been in the trenches with him, competing with him, ups and downs and highs and lows. I talked to Kareem Richardson, Rick Ray at Seymour, who's a good friend of mine, obviously Matt Painter, we've kind of known Hollander for years. Jim Cruz, I called him. Marty Simmons at Evansville. I have a great deal of respect for Marty Simmons. I think he's one of the best in the game. So I just talked to a lot of different guys about, the bad days when you're going through it. Because I think that's the gauge. Everybody's good when it's good. But how does he manage it? How does he recruit? Does he have a competitive spirit? 'Cause I like coaches with a high level of energy and give that energy to young guys. Because not every day a young man will be super energetic in the practice. So we have to lift them up, and it's a family. We have to do our job. So yeah, I've talked to a lot of people about it.
Coach Christopher put a video up about all the coaches in the training room the other day. What kind of energy does he bring, and how important is his role?
If I feel a little exhausted, I look a little exhausted. I just left the weight room. Just again, passion. I think when Coach Nicodemus first came on with us, he was 25 or 26 years old, probably the youngest guy at that level. When I hired him in Tennessee, and he brought that passion and energy. Because I think oftentimes we wanted, as coaches, we want the players to give that every day. But oftentimes they're tough patches, and we have to give it as coaches. And I think Nicodemus, in a way, when he brings that to the table, and then it becomes a way of life. But he works hard. He's a good strength and conditioning coach, but he's also very intelligent. He understands his craft. It's not so much as lifting guys, getting them bigger, stronger, fast. It's understanding who you're lifting, and everybody's not the same body type.
Coach, you have those 2 scholarships remaining. What's the plan with that? You plan on using them? What do you want to do?
We'll always use them. Because recruiting never stops. And our job is to find the best student athletes to fit what we're trying to do. But we won't just take a guy just to take him. We got to find the right guys that can help our program be successful. And not only just win ball games, but to maintain success over the course of time. So we got to plug in the right guys. And I will say this: there's a lot of interest, and that part is great. But again, it's just the right ones that fit what we're trying to do. I don't know if we'll use both of them, but if we find the right guys, we will.
What position types are you looking for specifically?
Position, the best available players, guys that can score the ball. You know, I think more so, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, the game has kind of changed. You have to have guys that, you can. I thought you could, years ago, you can win big just really defending. You got to have guys that can make plays offensively with the way the game's officiated. Guys get fouled, get to the free throw line. The way you can't guard guys in the post, hand check on the perimeter, those are fouls. So if you get guys that can make plays, one-on-one plays, demand a double team, I think you have a chance to be successful. Where it used to be years ago, I would recruit a guy who I felt like could be an elite defender, even though his offense was probably catching up. I don't know if you can do that as much nowadays.
What has your pitch been to recruits? How are you selling Missouri now?
It's a great place. Because again, I go back to, it might sound simple, but when you have great fan support, you've had a fan base over a course of time, great facilities, great resources, because what happens, the sale is what young men see. It's one thing for me to say something as a coach, and I think guys can be successful. I think guys will get degrees, but not just to get degrees, but have successful careers. I think you can sell that, but oftentimes with young men, it's what they see. And most of them want playing time from day one. And I think when you're able to sell the fact you have an opportunity to play from day one, that's what most guys want. And they don't really care about what took place in the past. It's just amazing. It's just, hey man, what can you do for me right now? Is there an opportunity for me to play from day one? Can you help me get where I'm trying to go? And it's as if they're marketing themselves as professional athletes. Even though some of these guys are great students, but that's the world that we live in now. Because again, and it starts with the high school teams, the summer programs. If you think about summer programs, they have different brands that trying to get those guys to recruit them to their teams. So now what can you do for me to be successful? So now the translation, again, give those young guys credit to understand when I pick a university, what can you do for me in order for me to be successful as a player? Now our job as coaches is to get those guys to understand what it means to be a team, what it means to be a family, to embrace what we're trying to do to be successful.
The flip side, especially with some of the guys that might be committed or that you've been tied to, what kind of conversations do you have to have with guys on your current roster about roles maybe changing, and how accepting do you anticipate they'll be of that?
Well, again, the day I had the press conference, I met with the team, just general conversation, introducing myself, and after that, the last 2 days I had individual meetings with the guys, and just talking, not necessarily talking about roles, just what I thought, just kind of watching from afar, what I thought, my opinion, where we have to get to as an individual. And then after that, we kind of call guys in, just have meetings. Great job here. Focus on this. Continue to work toward this. And I try to stay away from oftentimes talking about confidence, because I think when you say it to a kid over and over, confidence, confidence, then all of a sudden you start thinking, well, do I lack confidence? So we try to stay away from that and just work toward things that we need to get done. We haven't sat down and talked about roles, because the one thing I never promise minutes, I never guarantee anything, that whether I'm recruiting a young man or he's in our current program. So everybody has an opportunity to earn what they want to earn, and it starts in practice. So I try to leave it at that. Now, as we get into it and we start implementing the offense and what we're trying to do, then I'll say, okay, I think you might be best here. But I try to stay away from just defining a role, because you can do so many things. Like if you're a point guard, you can post up, then I want you to post up. If you're a big guy, you can shoot from the perimeter and shoot 3-point shots. Because for me, going into college, it was, early my role was defend, rebound, and play hard. Don't necessarily look at that rim unless it's a layup. You can get offensive rebounds, set screens. So I had to grow into those other things. And so I try to stay away from defining the role. The only thing that we try to maintain, and there's a constant defend, rebound, and play hard. Everybody do that at a different level. Offensively, you put your best players in position to be successful. Not everybody's going to be a leading scorer, so that depends on who that individual is.
Cuonzo, could you withstand another transfer as far as the APR goes? Have you crunched those numbers yet?
Yeah, I think we can lose 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, but again, I don't think anybody will leave, but you never know.
You kind of mentioned that Man and Holland are more offensive oriented. Is that kind of the plan of how you assign what they're charging?
Well, I just want them really to focus on it, because everything we do, I mean, those guys understand defense as well. But what happens is, because I've known those guys for years, and they know me, and I think that's the great thing about it. So it's not just a hire from the standpoint of a guy, okay, he comes highly recommended, but I know them, and they understand who I am and what I expect and the things that I focus on. So as we practice, really focus on those things, because, even Man sometimes, and even Holland, those guys look at the defensive side of the ball, because they understand what we're trying to do and what defense can do for your teams. But the focus right now for those two guys is to really lock in on the offensive piece. And me and Coach Porter kind of focus more on the defensive side of the ball.
Coach, have you gone around to say with your different media appearances, addressing the alumni, how are you selling the vision of what you want Mizzou basketball to be and get them back into the Mizzou arena?
Well, the thing I'll just say, we need you guys on board. I think, again, they understand that this is a great place. But I don't talk about what happened in the past, because I wasn't a part of that. And it's hard for me to say specifically what took place, because I wasn't a part of that. So that's none of my business. It's to learn from it, to understand what our players need to do to be successful. So when I talk to our alum, our fans, our supporters, we need you on board. And we'll do our job to make this program the best program we can become. And I think that's as simple as I can put it until they see it. It's one thing to say something, but until they see it. And I think you see the energy right now, the young men that we're trying to bring in. But it's not so much about recruiting. It's about our current players. That's the most important thing in my opinion. You bring guys on board because your current players are the ones that make the program. And they have to embrace the new guys coming in and show them the way. But everybody, it's a learning process for everybody. So I spent a lot of time talking to our current guys of what we expect, what it should look like, what are we saying, so we're on the same page.
Do you sense some excitement from those returning? I mean, a lot of them have, I'm sure, been beaten down from losses over the last few years. I mean, how much do you sense that they're feeling like a fresh start, breath of fresh air right now?
I mean, they look excited. The energy level is high, and I think they want to be good. I was really, I was very excited after the first workout when I watched it, and I just kind of watched from afar. We normally videotape every practice. And just the intensity level was high, the focus was there, and they just played hard. I just think they're hungry to be successful. And the one thing I talked about with those guys, you have to embrace the opportunity. You have to embrace competition. Because in order for us to be a successful program, we have to upgrade from a talent standpoint. So you have to embrace guys that are coming in, and that's part of it. I think that's what makes guys better. The competition will make us a better team.
Coach, more questions?
Has Kim reached out to you, or have you reached out to Kim for any advice on how to coach?
Yeah, we talked. Yeah. And I knew Kim. We obviously didn't hang out, but I knew Kim before I took the job, and gave me great insight. He's a good man, yes.
Being from St. Louis area and coaching in Springfield, you talked about this a little bit, I know, in your press conference. Now you've been here a month. What is it like to be the head coach at Missouri, and is this something you envisioned in the past, working your way up?
Well, I think I guess it came close maybe a couple times, you know. It just didn't work out. Yes, I mean, and I pray to God this is my last stop, you know, in doing this. Because I think it's a great situation. Everything I do, I always try to take it one day at a time. And the one thing, you know, Coach Katie kind of talked to me about, this is always business. It's never personal. So you have to do your job. And that is the most important thing for me, to do my job to the best of my ability and just try to take one day at a time.
How difficult was that conversation with Kim? Because I think everybody knows how much this job meant to him too.
It wasn't difficult for me or Kim, in my opinion, because I'm blessed to be sitting here, and I also know that somebody else could be sitting here. In our profession, this world, that we know that is a possibility. I certainly don't take this for granted, and I'm honored to be sitting here. So it was just more coach talk. It wasn't necessarily, man, this guy, that guy. It wasn't even about that, because I understand it. So yeah, this is just what we do. We continue to be blessed that we able to sit here and do the job and move forward.
A couple more questions for Coach, please.
I know you said Norm Stewart was a guy you looked up to. Has he reached out to you?
Yes, he did. Yeah, we've talked to. Yeah, Coach is a funny guy too. Yeah, we talked. Yeah.
How cool was that to be able to talk to him?
That was good. I mean, obviously, you know, he's in the mode of, you know, Coach Katie, and he said a couple of jokes about Coach. But I knew Coach. You know, it's years removed. But he's a good man, and he just said, any way I can help you, I will. And it was great.
Is there any advice or any, you know, any?
Not necessarily. Now, we're supposed to talk in 2 weeks again, but not necessarily about this job, look out for this, look for that. No, not at all. And it didn't get to that point. It was just more or less happy to have you on board and that sort of thing.
You were part of great combos as a player at high school and college. I'm just curious, you're still close with LaFonso and then Big
Yes.
Dog as well at those spots?
Yes.
And what do they think about your job here?
Well, I haven't talked to Dog in a while, so I need to get in touch with Glenn. But LaFonso and I mean, that's like family. He just actually sent me a long text this morning, he can't talk recruiting, but he has a son. So, but yeah, we've kept in touch for years, and that's a relationship.
You'll
Yeah.
probably be staying in touch with him in the future.
Oh, but we always. I mean, again, when you grew up in that environment together, that's like family. So yeah.
Well, big weekend. Obviously, I know you can't talk specifics, but the reaction from whether it's fraternities hanging banners or just probably stories you heard about kids around campus. I mean, how exciting is that? How much do you sense that this community is really embracing what you're trying to do here already?
Well, you can see. I mean, I've seen it throughout the community, just going to restaurants. But again, if you guys can relay the information to those fans, that is very much needed. It helps us. It helps us do our job, because again, I tell fans all the time, you want to see a great product on the floor, then we need your help from the standpoint. That level of energy and passion, enthusiasm, filling the arena, that helps. And then all of a sudden, you look up 4 or 5 years later, wow. And I think that is a big key and a factor in what we're doing. And we need all the help we can get, because I think they both go hand in hand.
Student engagement's been kind of low. I mean, the student section wasn't full the last few years. How critical a piece is that to fill that section up again?
Again, we need all the help we can get. We need every seat to be filled. So if you guys have family members that don't have tickets, get them on board.
Anything else for Coach, please?